Donald Trump continues to maintain a steady lead over Kamala Harris. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today we have to talk about the 2024 presidential election because there's a brand new poll released from Harvard-Harris today that shows Donald Trump winning not just by a point, no, by upwards of 3 to 4 points. Now, to be fair to Harris, this is slightly better than with Biden a month ago, because I think Harvard-Harris had Biden losing by like 7 points or something. It was getting bad. But even then, Harris is doing 2 to 3 points better than Biden isn't enough. I don't get why people celebrate a Trump +1 poll. For starters, there's a good chance that poll is understating him. So if he's up by 1 to 2, there's a possibility he's up by 3 to 4 in reality. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but that's entirely possible. This is Trump. He has a history of outperforming the polls by quite a bit. But okay, let's say the polling is spot on and there's no polling misses, which is unlikely. But okay, let's say that's the case. The problem for Harris and Democrats is a 3-point defeat in the popular vote. And let's say this is off by 2 points. And let's say it's understating Harris by 2, which is not going to happen based on the leaners. But okay, fine, whatever. Trump still wins the popular vote by a point. Does no one see the problem with that? Back in 2016, he lost it by 2. In 2020, he lost it by 4.5. Now, we have Trump winning by a point in most polls. Now we have Harvard-Harris out with a Trump +3 poll with undecideds, and without undecideds, Trump +4. So that's a 8-point shift in just 4 years. That's a complete disaster, but what makes this a bigger disaster for Democrats is the fact that this is Kamala Harris. And why is that a big deal, you may ask? Well, put it simply, she has no appeal to the swing states. So she's losing by 4 points. Let's say Harvard-Harris is spot on, and that Trump is up by 3 to 4. Well, we have to assume the biggest swings are happening in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, etc. Because with Harris, yeah, she's going to do slightly better than Biden in states like California and New York, but you trade off doing slightly better in those Democrat states with doing awful in Wisconsin. And you think I'm kidding? Look at the crosstabs of the Harvard-Harris poll. Look at the rural vote over here on the right. Trump is winning the rural vote by 32 points. Back in 2020, he won the rural vote by 15. That's a 17-point shift in just 4 years. And the reason that this is a big deal is, well, look at some of the key swing states like Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a very rural state. If Trump is really doing 17 points better with the rural vote, you can kiss goodbye Wisconsin. Even a state like Minnesota has a decent rural population. Even Michigan and Pennsylvania, they do as well. So that's the problem here for Democrats. Yes, Harris might be doing better in New York than Biden. She might be doing better in California than Biden, compared to 2024. I still think at the end of the day, Harris does like 5 to 10 points worse in California, New York, compared to 2020. But compared to Biden 2024, yes, she is doing better in the Democrat areas. But the problem for her is the Democrat areas don't matter. You don't win the election through New York, through Massachusetts, through California. You win it through Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, etc. That's why this is a big problem for Democrats. I really believe they don't understand what's about to happen. Yes, Harris is doing better with the Democrat voter. She's doing better with the voter in California. But they don't matter. In the terms of the Electoral College, they don't matter. They really don't. I mean, seriously. Is she going to win the election through California? Does anyone believe that? No, she's not. She has to win it through Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada. And she's crashing and burning with those voters. But yes, she is slightly better with the partisan Democrat in California. But like I said, it doesn't really matter. But the thing that should make Democrats, I think, really scared is this should be the best polling for Harris. I've been talking about this for a week now. That this is a response bias. What's happening in the current polling, the show Harris surging. Which, by the way, Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, he actually polled. All right, he's doing a poll right now, and he flat out said, yeah, there's a big response bias. Like, black women are responding like 20% more, something crazy like that. So it's like, yeah, there's a clear response bias with Harris becoming the Democrat nominee. But even then, it's like, they still have, most polls have Trump winning. Ever since the Biden dropout, most polls have Trump up by a point, maybe two. There's only been two pollsters, as of now, that have Trump losing. Reuters and Morning Consult. And Morning Consult always jumps around, and Reuters just sucks. So, the two leads Harris has, they're from a pollster that's garbage, and one that goes around all the time. Like, 1 week it's Trump +2, next week it was Biden +1, Trump +1, Biden +2. It keeps going back and forth. But outside of those two pollsters, including every other pollster has Trump winning. And we have the Harvard-Harris poll just today that has Trump up by 3 to 4 points. That's pretty damn good for Republicans. But there was a poll released just an hour ago. And it came from Florida Atlantic University, and they have Trump losing by 2. Okay, they have him down by 2 points. All right, so it's another pollster that has Trump losing. But funny enough, this pollster might have just proven my entire theory about the response bias. So I decided to dig into the numbers, and I found something very fascinating. Their last poll had Trump up by 7. All right, yeah, so that's a 9-point shift in like 2 weeks or whatever. But their sample in the last poll was R+3. The sample in this poll, which was, by the way, Harris +2, was D+6. A 9-point shift. Yeah, in just 1 week, they had a 9-point shift in both the head-to-head matchup, but also with the sample. In other words, the race didn't change at all. All that happened, and according to this pollster, the poll that has Harris up by 2, all that really happened was there's been a huge response bias. Because a bunch of Democrats, they're more excited that Harris is the nominee and they got rid of Joe. That's what's happening here. This proves what I've been saying. Hell, even Richard Barris, he brought up the fact that this poll had Trump's vote share at only 36%. That's a seriously low weighting efficiency. What does that tell you about this pollster? At least this poll in particular. There's a response bias. A bunch of partisan Democrats, they're more eager to take polls. That's what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening. It's not a grand conspiracy. It's not a big cope. It's both a response bias and a recency bias. Because people are just so glad that they got rid of Joe that they're like, oh my goodness, Kamala Harris, you saved us. When in reality, a lot of people are still going to think, wait, this is Kamala Harris. She's the vice president. She was the border czar, and she was incompetent. I'm not going to support that. Hell, we even see this surge for Harris in her favorability, which in my opinion proves everything I'm saying. Does anyone really believe in the span of, 2 weeks, that Harris went from having historically awful numbers to surging by like 10 points in 2 weeks? Hell, there's some polls out there that had her up by like 20 points in 2 weeks. Does anyone actually believe that? Does anyone believe that that's normal, that's sustainable? I don't think so. I think what's happening here in the poll I just showed you kind of proved it, is there's a response bias. There's a recency bias. A bunch of partisan Democrats, they're more eager to take the polls. And the reason that this is a big deal is if you do not properly account for, oh wait, there's a bunch of partisan Democrats inflating the sample, if you don't account for that, what could happen, and this is happening in a bunch of pollsters, hell, Richard Barris brought this up, it could completely throw your poll out of whack. Because if you have a bunch of white liberals taking the poll, like way more often than before, well, okay, there might be a 10-point shift with white voters, but is that because white voters shifted 10 points Democrat? Or is that because white liberals took the poll more often? And for those that doubt that theory, we actually have a good example in recent memory. 2012. Do people just forget about this? Before the first debate, when Romney just kicked Obama's ass, but before that, Obama was beating Romney by 4 to 5 points in the polling. Well, after the debate, which was a disaster for Obama, Romney surged. He took about a 1-point lead. Some polls had him up by 2 to 3, but generally speaking, he had a lead, or it was tied. Do people really think there was a 6-point shift? I don't think so. What I think happened here was a bunch of Republicans, they were so enthusiastic about the victory that they were just more eager to take polls. While Democrats, they were just stunned at what happened. They're like, oh my goodness, what just happened? That they decided to take polls less. Is that what happened here? I think so. How do you explain a 6 to 7 point shift in the polls in 2 weeks? Or not even 2 weeks, like a week. But at the end of the day, Obama won by 4. So the polling in October, or early October and September, they were spot on. But the polls in late October, they sucked. Is that because the polling just, they showed a huge shift of Romney, they were just wrong? Well, maybe. But what's more likely? That? Or just Romney supporters, they were more enthusiastic, they were more likely to take polls, and they screwed up the sample. I think that's possible. I think that's what happened. So if it happened in 2012, why is it impossible for it to happen now? And even if it doesn't happen, Trump is still up by just under 2 points. And that's without the Harvard poll in here. With the Harvard poll, it's probably Trump plus 2. What can you say to that? Other than Trump is still winning in what should be the best polling period for Harris. We do got to see what happens. I guess it's possible that the polls are understating Harris, I guess. But at this point in time, I don't think that's likely. I really think even with Trump winning by a couple points, I really believe that it's actually overstating Harris's support because of the recent enthusiasm surge. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.